a member of the Armed Services Committee, and he is my guest today. Great to see you, Senator.
Gretchen, it's always great to join you.
Well, this report seems to say exactly what the previous reports have said, that they should have known better, right?
No, that's exactly right. There were multiple requests for additional security from Ambassador Stevens from the ground. The State Department refused those requests. The Secretary of State did not provide the security. And we now know, as these reports have confirmed over and over again, that the Pentagon knew the day these attacks happened that these were terrorist attacks. What we don't know is why these attacks happened. What we don't know is why the administration changed their talking points, edited out references to Al-Qaeda and to terrorism. And what we don't know is why Cheryl Mills, Hillary Clinton's top political aide, went and instructed career Foreign Service agents not to tell the truth, not to talk to Congress, not to say what happened on the ground when 4 Americans were murdered in a terrorist attack.
So, Senator, where do we take it from here? Because there have been a lot of hearings and more reports. But as you sit there today on Capitol Hill, what can you tell our viewers about where this story goes from here?
Well, this shouldn't be a partisan issue. We need to get to the bottom of what happened, and we need to make sure it never happens again. In my view, what we should do is we should form a joint select committee to investigate Benghazi. I've introduced a resolution, has 24 senators as co-sponsors, to get to the bottom of what happened, why these attacks occurred, why they weren't prevented, why the talking points were altered, and critically, why nobody has been held accountable. Nobody at the State Department, none of the terrorists have been brought to justice. And this ought to be a bipartisan priority. You know, Gretchen, when I travel home to Texas, I talk all the time to men and women of the military, men and women who serve in the diplomatic corps, and they're outraged and offended that their federal government, 17 months ago today is when those attacks began, and we still haven't seen the terrorists brought to justice.
All right. I want to move on now because you are a lawyer. Sometimes people might forget that. And the former Solicitor General of Texas. So, Senator, I'd like to ask you about the legality of the latest change to Obamacare, announcing yet another delay for the employer mandate. How do you see this one?
Well, it's yet another example of lawlessness from this president. You know, we've never seen a president who takes the view, if he disagrees with a federal law, he can ignore it, he can refuse to enforce it, or he can just unilaterally change it. And Obamacare has been the embodiment of lawlessness. He initially granted an exemption to big business. It's directly contrary to the law, but he wanted to take care of his buddies in big business. He illegally granted an exemption to members of Congress. It's directly contrary to the law, but he wanted to take care of Harry Reid and the Senate Democrats. And now this latest announcement, he's yet again changing the law, violating the law. It's unconstitutional, and it is unprecedented.
Let me ask you this, though, Senator, because it's my understanding that this little nugget of information within this latest change is that small businesses would have to sign a statement under threat of perjury if they're actually going to increase or decrease their employee level that would put them into a different level of the mandate. I mean, is that the government telling private business who they can hire and who they can fire?
The burdens Obamacare are putting on small businesses are enormous. Small businesses generate 2/3 of all new jobs. And, you know, Gretchen, every time I go back to Texas, I spend time traveling the state, listening to Texans, and we've done small business roundtables throughout the state. If you get 10, 15, 20 small business owners together in a room, doesn't matter what part of the state you're in, East Texas, West Texas, up in the Panhandle, or down in the Rio Grande Valley, they describe Obamacare as the biggest job killer they're facing, the biggest burden they're facing, and millions of people have lost their jobs, have been forced into part-time work, or have lost their health insurance.
Well, speaking of jobs, I know you support building the Keystone Pipeline, so do you think President Obama should open it up, make that crucial decision before the midterm elections?
Look, of course he should. We just had recently his former energy secretary who admitted the delay on Keystone has nothing to do with the science. It's purely a political decision. And just this week, I laid out the outlines for a broad energy agenda, for a bill that I intend to introduce, the American Energy Renaissance Act, which would, number one, stop the federal government from getting in the way, from messing up the incredible energy renaissance we're seeing. And number two, would open up new lands, because we have the potential to create millions of high-paying jobs which are the top priority for Americans.
Yep.
If only the federal government doesn't stand in the way.
All right, Senator Cruz, a lot of issues, a lot of different hats that you're wearing. We appreciate your time as always. Have a great day.
Thank you, Gretchen. You have a great day as well.
Thanks. Well, the FBI offering a